Hi guys, Dr. Mel, and we are busy with quantitative aspects of physical sciences. And this is specifically in chemistry, where you are going to use the word and the concept of concentration. So we've done previously the mole. Now remember, the mole was the number of atoms that you have. And we also covered the volume. So now we're going to put these two concepts together. So what do we have? We've got elements. Now, you know, if you have a look at your periodic table, that each of the elements in the periodic table will be arranged to a certain sequence. Now, those atoms in, for instance, sodium or, for instance, sulfur will be exactly the same. So that will be a pure substance of only sodium or sulfur atoms. So it's pure. We can also find a compound that's pure. Let's say, for instance, we've got water. So we know we've got two hydrogens for every oxygen. And there you can see it's only H and O. So it forms the compound, it's molecules. So those are the pure substances. But we can also find mixtures where we actually have more than one atom. So there's a difference between a homogeneous and a heterogeneous mixture. Now, if you have a look at this, can you see the arrangement of the purple atoms in terms of the green ones? Here you can see I've got the purple ones cluttered together, and that makes it probably a solid. So what we have here is probably a solid, and here I've got a liquid. So that's a heterogeneous mixture. Here they are equally distributed, so I will probably have, let's just go back there, a liquid and a liquid. Now the homogeneous means it's all in the same phase, and the heterogeneous will mean it's different phases. We'll get to the formal definition just now, but what you can see here is that they are cluttered together. So what's the definition that you have to know? In solutions, so we are going to use things that we're going to add together. You can find a homogeneous solution, and it's a mixture of two or more substances. Let's quickly have a look at this cup of coffee or tea. I added here coffee. I added here sugar. And I added water. But what I can see is none of the coffee, none of the sugar, none of the water, because it's now a cup of coffee. And it's all liquid. So the coffee and the sugar before I added the water was solid, and the water is in actual fact a liquid. So you have to know that I had a phase, and I'm now mixing them together. Where I've got a heterogeneous mixture, I actually have two or more substances, but it's visibly different. So if you have your cornflakes or anything that you add into, for instance, milk, you can actually identify the pieces of the cornflake in there. Let's say you take jelly tots or Smarties and you put them into water. You'll be actually able to visibly see them. Hetero meaning different, and homo meaning the same. So those are the Greek words and the Latin where we get these terms from. So this is the same phase, and here I've got different phases. A solution, now that's another word. A solution is formed when I've got a solute dissolving in a solvent. Now you've got to know these two terms. The solute was the cornflakes. So that's what I threw into the solvent, which was the milk. So can you see I've got words, I've got a solution, and I've got a solvent and a solute. So let's see if you can identify the solute and the solvent. I've got salt water. Now, guys, if you see these type of tables, take a pen and do it with me and see if you can get the same answer. If I've got salt water, I actually have sodium chloride, which in actual fact is salt, as the solute. And what do you have with it? Can you see what you have there? Water. So the solvent will be the water. Another one, which is quite interesting because we don't see it like that, if I've got, for instance, a cold drink, I actually have a gas, so I've got carbon dioxide, which is the solute, with water as the solvent. So you have to be able to identify the solute, that's what you throw into the solvent, which is the liquid. And this can be, you can see here, it can be a solid, it can be another liquid, or it can be a gas. So interesting that you have to be able to distinguish those terms. Let's have a look at something all of us have been seeing somewhere in the house. I've got a bottle here of a drink that most of the houses will have, Oros. So what do you do when you mix Oros? Don't you take a small part of the Oros? Let's make it orange as you've seen it. Don't you take a small part of Oros, which is now the concentrate. And then you add water. And the water will be the liquid that you add into that glass. And then you'll be able to drink it. What happens when I add the water? Let's quickly draw it afterwards. So I've got my glass then. I've got Oros scattered all over. Remember, the Oros was the solute. So I've got the Oros there, and I've got the water, which was the solvent, in between these Oros molecules. Can you see I actually made a solution now? So I've got, again, I'm going to repeat it. I've got a solute and I've got a solvent, and you have to be able to distinguish those. Just something that you learn in the next lesson, and you started to do that when you did covalent bonds. If I have a look at oxygen, oxygen will have an electron and another electron, which it will share with hydrogen. So hydrogen will have an electron and an electron. So let's see what happens there. There's a covalent bond between those two. And what you learn in later chemistry, you'll see that those two electrons will not be equally shared between the oxygen and the hydrogen. It will actually be nearer to the oxygen. So it will be probably nearer there. And what you'll then find, because the electrons are negative, you'll have water having a negative side and a positive side, because the electrons are more to the oxygen. And this will give me a term that you'll again do a little bit later, a dipole, two poles. And that's why we can actually use water as a solvent, because it's got a negative side and a positive side, and it will turn the solute that you throw in there to bind. So the positive of the solute will arrange, let me do that in a clearer color, the positive of the solute will be arranging next to the negative, and the negative side will come and lie next to the positive. That's how things have solutions. Right, let's carry on to go to concentration. Remember what we did just now. We took Oros and we put water into it. So I'm going to put the concentrated Oros there. That was the mole of Oros. And then if you remember, I then added water. And that would be at a certain volume of water, and then you got the water in between. And that tells you what's the strength of the drink that you're going to drink. And you know you can do it with coffee or anything else. Right, let's see the equation that we can calculate the concentration. Now, the concentration will be a small c. It will depend on the mole, and you know we've already abbreviated mole with an N, and the volume, which is now the V. What will the unit be? Well, that will be then mole, and this will be cubic decimeter. That is the unit for concentration. Be careful, guys. You will not always get an example or a question with cubic decimeters. Let's quickly have a look, and we have done a lesson on this, so you can quickly go to the volume lesson. Let's have a look at volumes. Remember we said 10 centimeters and 10 centimeters and 10 centimeters will give me a volume, length times width times height of 10 centimeters times 10 centimeters times 10 centimeters, which gives me 1,000 cubic centimeters. But please remember that 10 centimeters is in actual fact 1 decimeter. This is 1 decimeter and 1 decimeter. You've got decimeters on your ruler, on your desk, in your little pen bag. So have a look in your pencil bag, see that you've got 10 centimeters, and remember that that's 1 decimeter. Then this will be 1 decimeter times 1 decimeter, which means 1,000 cubic centimeters is equal to 1 cubic decimeter. Remember, you are going to use that transfer and transition from one to the other unit. Right, let's have a look at a question. Determine the concentration. They're asking me to determine the concentration of sodium hydroxide. So I know it's sodium hydroxide. It's a solution. It has 2 mole of sodium hydroxide in a volume of 500. Do you see? Cubic centimeter. Immediately take your calculator and take that to cubic decimeters. How do you do it? I divide the 500 with 1,000. Remember, it's cube. So it's 10, 10, and 10. And you then get an answer of 0.5 cubic decimeters. I do that immediately. Then I go back and I answer my question. I want to calculate the concentration. I've got the moles, and now I've got the correct volume. I'm going to put the 2 over the 0.5. That will give me a value of, for what? This was mole, and this was measured in cubic decimeter. So my answer is 4 mole per cubic decimeter. That's the concentration of sodium hydroxide if I take 2 moles of it and I dilute it with 500 cubic centimeter, or I make a solution. Another question. Determine the concentration. Again, the C. I now have sodium chloride, and they gave me that I started with a mass of 5.8 grams. Now, you recall what we can do with this mass? If you can remember, we can actually, because we know what the small m is, and because it's sodium chloride, I can also calculate the molar mass, which will give me then the mole. We'll do that just now. And it's dissolved, and you've got the volume. So let's get to the mole. I'm saying N is M over M, the molar mass. I've got 5.8. I've got sodium chloride. Sodium, have a look on your periodic table. That will give you 23 grams. Chloride, 35.5. If I add those two together, I get 58.5 grams. And if you do that calculation, you get 0.1 mole. Right, so I calculated the mole. Now I want to get to the concentration. So the concentration is the mole over the volume I already did the mole. It's 0.1. I can just take the cubic decimeters because it's in the correct unit, and I'll now get an answer of 0.05 mole per cubic decimeters. Guys, you'll see on your information sheet that you can actually put the C, and you can actually have there the M over the M over the V. I don't like doing that in the beginning. You can do that later in grade 11 and 12 because it's too much information. So I just go calculate the moles, go then to the concentration and get the correct answer. Right, let's do a last calculation. Determine the number of mole. They're asking me that. They're giving me the volume of the hydrochloric acid, which is 250, and they have a look there, it's cubic centimeters, and they're giving me the concentration, and can you see there's the cubic decimeters. So I cannot work with cubic centimeters and cubic decimeters. I have to have the same unit. So I've got the concentration as 0.3. So what are we going to do? We're firstly going to get the volume. So the volume will be 250 cubic centimeters. If I want to take that to decimeters, I'm again going to divide it with 1,000. It'll give me a value of 0.250 cubic decimeters. I now have the same unit as the concentration. Concentration is the mole over the volume. They wanted me to calculate the mole, so it's N is equal to C times V. I've got the concentration. I had it from the beginning. I calculated the volume as 0.25 just now, and I only have to do the calculation now, and you'll get a value of 0.075. Remember, we are working out the mole, so that will be my answer with that unit. Right, can you define concentration? It is the number of moles in a certain volume. Go and have a look at the definition. You'll be asked to do that. And then finally, do some calculations, either the concentration or the mole or the volume. And the last note, can you take cubic centimeters to cubic decimeters? Quite important to do that conversion. I hope you enjoy working with concentration because this is going to be more complex if you go into acids and bases and all those calculations in grade 11 and 12. Bye-bye.